No bull. No Scotty, no Pippen, no Michael, no Jordan, no bull. No bull. No bull. Only real shit in my town. Not if fake niggas ain't round. No bull. No bull. Yeah. No bull.
Hi, this is Chuck Swirsky, and you're listening to No Bull AUK, Chicago Bulls podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the No Bull podcast, a podcast from UK Chicago Bulls. It's been a while. We've not released one since January. Life's been pretty busy, so I've really missed it. Hopefully, you guys have missed it as well. And I wanted to get a good guest to kick this season off. Obviously, we get a lot of fans on and we talk about all sort of their views and stuff. So I wanted my first episode back to be a real good guest, and I've got one. I threw a shot out and somehow it landed, and I couldn't be happier. You've probably all seen it on the social medias. He's loved by everyone in Bulls Nation. I've never had anyone say a bad word against the guy, and he, in my opinion, probably one of the nicest people in the world from what I know about him. So without further ado, it is an absolute honor to welcome Mr. Chuck Swirsky. Hi, Chuck.
Jimmy, good to be with you.
Thank
and
you.
Greetings from the United States to the UK. Actually, Jimmy, you know what? The Bulls, I did a broadcast from the UK with the Bulls at a preseason game against Utah.
Oh,
and
wow.
James Johnson was a rookie at Wake Forest. We had two rookies that year, James Johnson and Taj Gibson. And James Johnson hit the game-winning shot for the Bulls to beat the Jazz.
And when was that?
Gosh, that was a good decade plus ago.
Wow. Okay, that's really cool. Well, Chuck, thank you. First and foremost, thank you for joining me. I really do appreciate you doing this. It's absolutely awesome. Yeah, I mean, you probably don't know, but I actually only got back into the game 6 years ago. I had a long period out. So, but I was a big fan back in the 90s, hence why I support the Bulls. And then went a long period without following it. Started following football, soccer, as you guys would call it over here, took over my life. But I'm back into basketball, bigger than ever. And yeah, I absolutely love it. So I did miss...
Jimmy, that's what I want to hear.
Yeah, honestly, I live for it now. So you saying about that game, obviously I wasn't following the game then when that game was over here. So we've got one in Paris coming up, of course, which I'm hoping to get to, which is in January. But before that, I'm actually over in Chicago in December, which I've just recently booked.
Well, I expect to see you, Jimmy.
I would love to meet up with you, Chuck. It'd be an honor. It's my first time in Chicago as well. So
I'll buy you a pint.
Let's do it. Let's make that happen.
Yes, we will make it happen.
That'll be awesome. Chuck, I've got so much I want to talk about. I'm conscious of your time and I'm conscious of overrunning and everything else, but I don't know where to start. I'm going to start here. Am I right in saying this is your 25th year in the NBA?
That's correct, Jimmy. My 25th year, my 15th with the Bulls.
Wow.
And I started with the Toronto Raptors. I had 10 wonderful years in Toronto. The ownership, the management, the coaches that went through Toronto, all the players, they were fabulous individuals. And I'm very, very blessed to have been with two great organizations.
Yeah, well, they were blessed to have you. Like I say, you're well loved. In fact, you know Joe Pinchin, who works. Yeah. So Joe was doing a live Instagram a couple of years ago. I think it was during COVID, perhaps, and I was commenting on it and stuff. And one of the questions I asked him, and I'm sorry guys if this sounds like I'm blowing smoke to Chuck, but like I love the guy. Like one of the questions I asked Joe was, is Chuck Swirsky really one of the nicest people in the world? Because you always come across as such a nice, genuine, gentle guy. Like your tweets, you're an inspirational guy, is how I would look at it. And Joe just sort of said, yeah, he's a really good guy. And everyone
Well,
kind of says the same thing. And I know you were recently on the CHGO podcast with Big Dave, or say recently, it was
yeah.
maybe towards the end of last season. And Dave said the same. And Dave's one of the nicest guys as well out there. So, and for him to say it as well is just proof. So,
Well, they're very kind. You're very kind, Jimmy. This is the way I was raised. My parents really instilled politeness, respect, manners, that you look for something positive and you try to assist and support people along the way, because, we're all in this together, Jimmy.
yeah.
I mean, you're doing a podcast in the UK. So by some chance, when you reached out and you said, hey, would you mind? Absolutely. If it helps you, let's do it. And that's why, my heart is always full. I don't believe in is the glass half full and half empty. My glass is always full. And so I'm just like, I'm having a great time. I love what I do. I love my organization. I love the people in the organization, and I love Chicago. So here I am.
It's awesome. It's so nice. Like your quotes out on Twitter and stuff, and I see them all the time. And obviously, when you're getting up, it's kind of like mid-morning, sort of to midday over here. But I'm always reading them, and it's a great way to be, and more people should follow suit. There's too much hate in the world. I couldn't agree with that anymore.
Yes, there is.
So yeah, it's amazing. The community over here, the UK sort of basketball community, it's quite niche still over in the UK.
Yeah.
But the community as a whole is so supportive. We've got the main hub, which is called NBA UK Fans, and they've kind of inspired a lot of people. I'm part of the NBA UK Fans, but they've inspired myself even to start the Bulls account. And I think most of the teams are now represented as UK fan accounts. And it's everyone, sort of, we're all in a big group on Twitter as well, and everyone's so supportive towards each other. It's
Awesome.
It's amazing. It really is. And the game is definitely growing over here because of it. So, yeah, things like this, things like you guys, like I say, I've reached into your DMs, and I was surprised you even saw it, to be truthful. So for you to reply and say you were up for it was just amazing. Absolutely amazing. Talking of your years in the NBA, I hope I've got this right. I also believe it's your 2000th game. Your 2000th game
Yeah.
you've called in January.
Hopefully, with health and whatever storms may come my way, which hopefully will calm the waters. But hopefully it'll be January 13th. It'll be a home game against Oklahoma City. And the irony of the 2000th game, I've missed 7 games because of health in 24 years,
Wow.
Sore throat, where I just couldn't speak. But the irony, Jimmy, is the team the Bulls are playing that night, Oklahoma City. So Oklahoma City moved from Seattle, and Seattle, the original Seattle Supersonics. I grew up in Seattle.
Of course.
And the Sonics were my team growing up. So, I mean, like the stars and the planets align, where the 2000th game is against the franchise, even though they're Oklahoma City, and I get it. It is Oklahoma City, it's not Seattle. But the roots of my NBA foundation began back in Seattle, Washington.
Wow. I wasn't aware that was the game. And to be honest, I probably wouldn't have even put the two together. That's quite incredible. Fingers crossed that it is that game, because that would be a hell of a way to reach your 2000. That would be amazing. Absolutely amazing. So this season, I mean, obviously the news about Lonzo recently coming out, it sucks. There's no getting away from that. But the more recent news is it could have been worse. I don't think they're expecting him to be out for the whole season. So, I mean, Lonzo, for me, Lonzo's our most important player. I'm not saying the best, but the most important.
Jimmy, you know what? Lonzo brings so much to the table, not only with his three-point shooting, his passing. Let's say Bulls get the rebound, they toss to Lonzo. Lonzo always has his head up, Jimmy, so he can see the floor. Yeah. And his vision is something you can't coach. I mean, you can tweak a little bit here and there, breaking it down with film, but his instinct and his knack and his basketball IQ and savvy is off the charts. So Jimmy, when he gets the outlet pass, it does something. The pass goes, south to north. In other words, up the floor, instead of throwing the ball around side to side and eating the clock. The other thing is 3-point shooting, his defense. And I just hope when he does come back, he's healthy. And I want him available for mid-April, obviously before then, but I want him ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I had no idea how good Lonzo was until he signed for the Bulls. I don't watch a lot of other games because the timings over here are crazy. Most of the games are like middle of the night. So it's like 1 o'clock in the morning usually, if not later. So I concentrate solely on Bulls games, and I only generally see other teams when they're playing the Bulls. I had no idea how good Lonzo was until I saw him in a Bulls uniform.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone knew about his defense was solid. I mean, he's, like you say, he's turned into a great 3-point shooter now. But his vision, like you just said, it's truly, I think it's second to none. I mean, I'm not a big NFL fan, but I understand the term, and he's like the quarterback.
Yes.
He's some of the passes, like you say, truly phenomenal. I never forget. I say I never forget, and I've got a terrible memory, so bear with me. But I forget who it was against now, and there was a player just landed on the floor with the ball, and they threw it to Lonzo, and before he'd even caught the ball, he was in the motion of passing it up court. I believe it was to Zach LaVine, who had an easy dunk, and I don't think anyone else in the game would have seen that pass that quickly. And had he hesitated, maybe the defender would have got back.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We have to be patient, and obviously it's an opportunity for other players like Caruso and like Io and like Kobe to step up. I mean, this is the NBA, and I'll tell you something, Jimmy. No one feels sorry for anybody. I mean, this is competitive basketball, and these teams are trying to beat you. I mean, the players and everyone in the league, they don't want anyone hurt. Okay. No. They want healthy rosters, because really you find out the barometer of your excellence when you play a healthy team. But, when you go into a game and a player is out, 2 players are out, whatever the case may be, Jimmy, you have a job to do, and that's beating that ball club.
Sure.
So I'm sure a lot of teams, when they play the Bulls, are very thankful that they don't have to face Lonzo Ball. And yet again, it's an opportunity for players on the Bulls, because they are wearing NBA uniforms. They are wearing Bulls on the chest. And to me, go for it. You know what? This is an opportunity. You want minutes? You've got them, but you got to earn your minutes, and you got to be productive. And I think the Bulls will respond.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for Io. I think he done fantastic last season in his rookie year. I really do. I don't think many people expected what we got from Io on both ends. I think he was absolutely phenomenal. Everyone that knows me or my account, they know how much I love Alex Caruso. I'm borderline obsessed with the guy. I'm not actually. I honestly, I love the guy so much. I will, if anyone ever tries to slander him, I'm on them. I'm defending him to the day I die. And I loved him at the Lakers even. I remember watching him in the bubble in the NBA Finals a couple of years ago. So when we signed him, I was so happy. But I would still like to see Io get the start personally. I think it would do him the world of good for his development. And Caruso, for me, is quite happy coming off the bench. Like he said many a times, he doesn't care about starting. He would rather finish games. And I mean, he's definitely going to be on the court for closing games, in my opinion, especially games where you're defending the lead. So we've got a lot of options. We've got Io, we've got Caruso, we've got Dragic, maybe Kobe, if you want to play Kobe at the point again. Personally, for me, I don't see him as a point guard so much. I think we've tried that, but who would, I don't want to throw you under the bus, so please say if you would rather not say, Chuck. Who personally would you like to see get the start?
Well, look, I think it's early in camp. And one thing I've always maintained about starters I listen. I understand the importance of a starting lineup, but I also understand the importance of role players performing at a high level. I also understand who's going to close the game.
Hmm.
Just as important, if not the most important element of a starting lineup, who are you going to close with to
Yeah,
seal the deal? Or if you're behind by 6 points with 2.5 minutes to go, who do you want on the floor? Or if you're up by 6 with 2 minutes to play, who do you want on the floor? So, Jimmy, I think these things will all take care of itself through preseason games, through practice. We don't see practice. I did see a practice last week, but for the most part, that's when coaches really have the optics on players and how they play together.
sure.
And the beauty of basketball is, Jimmy, the five guys on the floor. You can pick any five, but the bottom line is they've got to play together. They got to
Yeah,
play within a system. And I think whoever plays in place, I think it's going to be a committee. So whoever starts, the person that comes off the bench is going to be just as important as the starter. So we'll see what happens, how it plays out, Jimmy.
yeah, we will. We will. It would be very interesting. We are fortunate. We have got a few options. Lonzo will be missed, no doubt. But I mean, the year we had last year to be, first seed for so long, so much of the season up until after All Star break. I mean,
Yep.
I'm an optimistic Bulls fan. I don't think the most optimistic a Bulls fan would have said that we would have had that good a season up until that point.
Yep.
Obviously, it did drop off a cliff a bit, and I understand why, fatigue of players and what have you. But it was such, for me, last season was so much fun. Obviously, we've had some quite dull seasons where we're tanking, if you like, or we shouldn't be winning certain games, and you're kind of watching a game not knowing what you want because you want your team to win, but at the same time it may benefit the team in the long run if we lose game.
Yep.
I hate that. I can't watch my team play and want them to lose. That's just not
No,
in
no,
me.
no.
I
I mean,
understand
we're
that
here to
sometimes
win.
that's for the
You know
best,
what?
but
You put a uniform on, you're here to win.
absolutely.
Period.
And listen, there's not a player on that court for any team. I don't care what level of you play at, whether it's the NBA or whether it's a community club somewhere. You're going out to win, in my opinion. If you're not, you probably shouldn't be playing.
I
So
agree.
it makes me laugh when certain fans say, "Oh, he's tanking, he's purposely." No, there's not a player
Yeah,
out there tanking. They're out there to
I
try and
agree.
prove a point. So that's my opinion anyway. But yeah, I'm so excited for this season. I know ESPN released their predictions. Um, I don't think, but I think Bulls were maybe 12th or something. It just kind of brings me back to the DeMar DeRozan, the worst signing of the off season. Like I
Yeah.
think it was Bleacher Report claimed it or something or other. I mean, you know a lot of these players. I'm sure this is just fire fuel for their fire, isn't
Oh,
it, for them guys?
absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? I mean, I saw the same article where the Bulls were on the outside looking in. And you know what? I hope the Bulls players, I mean, I'm sure that's going around in the locker room. I'm sure
Yeah,
someone has pointed it out. And you know what, Jimmy? They don't have a chip on their shoulder. They're going to have a boulder
yeah,
because I think they say, they aren't getting respected at all. And let me tell you something, we all want respect and you earn respect. Well, the Bulls have earned the respect. I mean, based on what they did last year when they were healthy and the quality of player that they have on the roster. So I'm excited. I can't wait. I can't wait for the Bulls to prove ESPN wrong.
again. I mean, if I'm Billy Donovan, my talks, dressing room talks are quite simple. I just print out a graphic of that as big as I can and hang it on the wall, and go, there you go, guys. This is what people think of us. Just go and
Yeah,
prove them wrong. To me, that's we know the mentality the players have got. The players like Zach and Demar. Demar loves to prove people wrong. Zach does, and also I
yeah,
think people forget that Zach was playing hurt last season. He was, and yeah, he's got his critics, and sometimes I still question his decision making at times. Um, but he was playing hurt, and we know how good a player Zach is, And I don't believe that we've seen him fully healthy, or as healthy as he
Yeah.
probably is now. So I am super excited for that. And I believe, don't get me wrong, I know Zach supports Demar and vice versa, but I believe Zach will be out to try and prove that he's the best player on the team this year. I'm not saying he's going to be selfish in any way, but I think he's going to step up his game to
Well,
another
I
level.
mean, you know, I number one, I want him healthy. I
Yeah,
want him to play 75 games, you know.
yeah.
I mean, in a make-believe world, we'd love to see him play all 82,
Those
but
days are
I'd love
gone
him to
now.
just play 75. And if he can play 75 games and average 23 to 26 a game, somewhere in that window, I think he's going to have another all-star year.
Yeah, I agree. I also think it's been drummed on about so much, pretty much since the day he signed, about his defense and, excuse me, sorry, about his defense, and he needs to up his defense. I don't think Zach's a bad defender at all. I don't think he's a great defender, but I think he's above average. Personally, I think last
Well, I mean,
season,
he's improved in that area so much.
100%.
And I think Billy Donovan has done a great job and the coaching staff with him. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And Zach wants to be coached. And he wants to be coached by someone who's been there, done that. And Billy Donovan is a superb bench boss.
Yeah,
He is great. I am so impressed with Billy Donovan. I think the world of him. And so I think when you get guys like Zach LaVine, who's so athletic and so gifted, and you know, if when you see Zach LaVine play, and really it's a credit to the medical team in Minnesota, Chicago, rehabbing, you would never know that he had an ACL injury. I
no,
mean, because he can still play above the rim. He can still beat you off the floor with that hard dribble. He can still do athletic plays. And John Wooden, the former great UCLA coach, rest his soul, but John Wooden once told me your best offensive player should be your best defensive player, because your best offensive player has to have a skill set to make him an elite offensive scorer or producer with the basketball, either an assist, you know, making the pass that leads to a pass, or scoring, and scoring in various means of mid-range jumper, three-pointers, going to the rim, getting fouled. And if your energy can be matched on the defensive side, Jimmy, as you applied it to the offensive side, because you're more engaged offensively. You know, everybody wants to get the ball, everyone wants to shoot, everyone wants to dunk, and the crowd's going crazy, Jimmy. But defensively, if you can lock in, and that was the beauty of MJ. You know, MJ's over your right shoulder.
yeah,
And Michael Jordan challenged himself and said, listen, I want to make, you know, defensive player of the year. I want to be all NBA defense first team. And sure enough, it happened
yeah.
because he wanted it to happen and he worked at it. And I think Zach LaVine has that same mentality.
I completely agree. I really do. And I think going off to the Olympics with KD and those guys, I think that helped him massively as well. It certainly done his confidence the world of good being around those guys. And we all know how much KD likes Zach LaVine. He quite often tweets about him and stuff. So yeah, I expect another jump from Zach. And you saying there about his ACL, you kind of forget that he had the ACL injury. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's quite incredible. Like you say, credit to the medical staff that have been helping him through that. So yeah, I think we both agree. We're both super excited for this season to start. I hope we can prove ESPN wrong. Personally, I think we're probably, although I'm an optimist, I try to be a realist. I don't always succeed in that part. I personally think we're probably 6 to 8 seed is where I would think. I don't think we're outside of that personally, and I really hope I'm wrong. My task every season, where I'm a fan of the 90s. I don't like the New York Knicks. I have a lot of banter with Martin, who runs the UK Knicks fan account. We have a lot of coming and go. That's to and fro's there. In fact, we had a bet last year, which he actually still needs to fulfill. I need to remind him about this. Whichever team finished with less wins had to come on the other person's podcast or YouTube channel or Instagram live in the opposition's jersey.
Oh, well, Jimmy, I don't want you wearing blue and orange.
It's not happening, trust me. Unless it's a Bears jersey. That's the only time I'm wearing blue and orange.
Yes.
So I need to call him up on that because he still hasn't done that. And we need to get that
Jimmy,
done.
if you look at the schedule, the Bulls play the Knicks like 3 times in a week.
Yes.
3 times in a week.
Well, the crazy thing is, Chuck, I'm actually out there for 3 games in December. So I arrive in Chicago on the 6th of December, and I'm there until the 15th. So I get to see my last game in Chicago is the first Knicks game. And that's for me, and a win against the Knicks would be the perfect way to end what will hopefully be an amazing trip. So
yes.
Fingers crossed they can get that win. Unfortunately, I couldn't stay for the next game because they're playing them. I don't think it's a back-to-back night, but they're playing them twice. I think there's a day off and then they're playing them again. Unfortunately, I couldn't stay for that extra day, so I had to get back. But I get to one Knicks game, which will be so cool. Nice. But Chuck, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm kind of jumping on the CHGO podcast here because they ask the guest to ask a question for the next guest.
Yes.
And not knowing who it was. And you asked your question, and I'm going to, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask it to you because I think I might know the answer. So your question was, you can have dinner with someone currently living and they are picking up the bill. Who would it be?
Wow. All right. Who do you think, what individual do you think I was going to say?
Okay. And the only reason I'm saying this is because of your recent tweet, which I found was hilarious, by the way. I'm going to say Bill Wellington.
That's a good guess, but you know what? I have dinner a lot with Bill. It's
only because of your tweet was about when Bill, I think it was with the NFL game.
The check.
When Bill's going for the check.
Lineman he was tackling turf. He wasn't tackling a player.
Yeah. So it was a bit of a tongue-in-cheek answer, but yeah.
Let's see, a living person that I would like to sit down and have. You know what? I think it would probably be MJ.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. That would be mine without any shadow of a doubt.
Yeah. I think it would probably be Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Where I could just, sit down one-on-one, have a nice meal and just talk.
Yeah, it would be pretty awesome. Although he would pick the check up, he would probably bring a pack of cards and take all your money off you anyway. So bingo. Ultimately you would pay for it. So
yeah. And then he'd bring those cigars out and the cigar probably costs like $100,000. And I go, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be. Have you ever met MJ?
Yes.
You have?
Yeah. Yes. And I mean, he's terrific. He's, awesome. And, with the Charlotte Ball Club, we don't see him as much now. Like last year, I didn't really see him. And then COVID, of course, wiped out us traveling. So hopefully I'll see him this year.
That's amazing. How is that? I mean, obviously you see a lot of these players. So do you get starstruck or?
No, you know what, Jimmy? I mean, I appreciate them. Do I get starstruck? No. I respect them. I appreciate what they bring to the table on the court, off the court. But like when I was introduced to, the greatest of greats in the NBA throughout my different decades, you realize they're human beings.
Yeah.
And they've got strengths, they got weaknesses, they've got challenges, they've got joys, they've got sorrow. And just because they happen to be a super duper star in basketball doesn't mean that they aren't susceptible to all the things that you and I are,
Yeah.
And so I'm really not starstruck. I appreciate them, and it's kind of fun to meet some really, really good people in or out of sports. But no, I'm not starstruck.
See, I'm 38 years old, and I mean, when I get to Chicago, hopefully, I'm hoping to get the chance to maybe meet a couple of the players and get a jersey signed and stuff. And I still get really funny, like a child that does at Christmas, I guess. And
Oh yeah.
my other half, she sort of doesn't get it at all. She's like, but
Oh, now,
they're
Jimmy,
just
let me say
people like
this.
you and me.
I,
But I
I,
just,
I get that. Now, when I'm broadcasting, every game is a joy. I've never taken a game for granted. Not one.
no,
No. Not, I mean, going into the season, 1,957 games I've called.
wow,
Raptors, Bulls. And of that 1,957, I have never taken a day off from saying, I don't think I really need to look at that roster. I don't think I need to look at a nugget of information. I think I can get by with this or get by with that. Absolutely not. My brain, Jimmy, is so focused on, okay, I need to find out information on two-way players for the San Antonio Spurs. I need to look at tape of two-way players or exhibit 10 players because I want to go into a game. They may or may not play, who knows? But if they do get on the court, I want to be prepared, just like a player, just like a coach, because I take nothing for granted. Nothing. I never assume.
I think that comes across though with your broadcasting. I really do. You can tell when someone's genuinely enjoying doing what they do. So that definitely, absolutely comes across. So yeah, I was just saying anyway. I get a bit starstruck and I'm 38 years of age. My other half, she doesn't get it at all. She just said exactly like you just said. They're all human. Like they're no
Yeah.
different to me or you. They've just got a special skill.
Yep.
Which is true, but I just
No,
that's who I am.
it's all good. It's all good because you know what? We're fans and we're little kids at heart, So I'll give you a hall pass. Go ahead. Get starstruck.
Well, if there's one thing I am, it's passionate. I'm not the
I
most
love it.
knowledgeable basketball person in the world. There's a billion, in fact, more people out there far more knowledgeable than I am about the game. If you asked me to coach a team, I honestly wouldn't have no idea where
I
to
get it,
start.
Jimmy. It's
But
all good.
I'm just passionate. I just love the game.
Never apologize for speaking with passion from the heart.
Yeah,
Never.
it's who I am. I'm
Good.
just I'm just
Don't
that guy.
change, Jimmy.
I wear my heart on my sleeve. So
Good.
and that first night at the UC, my first game I believe is against the Wizards on the 7th of December, I believe it is. I can't promise there won't be tears when the introduction starts on the jumbotron and I'm in the United Center.
Nice.
I don't know how I'm going to react. There may be tears, who knows? But I can't wait for that trip. It's going to be real special. Chuck, I really appreciate your time. I'm going to try not to keep you any longer. The only other thing I did want to cover, I want you to you've got a book coming out. I believe it's just been released.
Yeah. There you go. The release, thank you, Jimmy. The release, always a pleasure. They can go online, Eckhartz Press. That's ECKHARTZ, Eckhartz Press, PRESS.com, and look for it. And it's going to be released October 26th, around that time. Just go on the website. A lot of stories about the Bulls and the Raptors and Kobe Bryant, who had 81 points against the Raptors when I did play-by-play for Toronto, which was an amazing night. Some baseball stories, my career, college basketball stories. I did 18 years of college with DePaul University and the University of Michigan. So anyway, hopefully it'll be a good read and you'll enjoy it.
Well, again, this is going to sound like I'm blowing smoke, and I swear to you, every word of this is true. I've only read one book in my life. I'm not a big reader, and I'm ashamed of it as well. I'm going to get that book, and I'm going to read it from start to finish, because not only is there going to be some awesome stories in there, I think it's going to be inspiring. Like I've said before, I think you're just that kind of guy. So I'm going to get that book, and I'm going to read it from start to finish, and I'm looking forward to it. And I am not a reader at all, so I advise anyone to go and get it. I think it's going to be amazing. I'm looking forward to getting into that, Chuck. So it'd be brilliant. Chuck, thank you again for your time. I honestly appreciate it so much. You've done
Jimmy,
this for me.
I can't wait, Jimmy, to see you in Chicago. And I want to thank your viewers and listeners for catching our podcast. And I am so excited about the Bulls 22-23, and because of our fan base. Our fans around the globe are fantastic, and I appreciate them so much. I appreciate you, Jimmy, and what you're doing in the UK, spreading Bulls Nation. Keep it up, and go Bulls.
Thanks very much, Chuck. All the best. You look after yourself, and I'll see you soon. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I'm sure you will agree this has been a brilliant episode. I've had so much fun doing it. It's been truly an honour speaking to Chuck. So thanks for everyone's support as always, and I hope you enjoy it. Everyone stay safe, and we will be back soon.